So man, what's up everybody, man? So haven't been making videos in like a month or so, and I wanted to like space out everything. Shout out to DLM for throwing support on my Cash App. And I wanted to make sure I have a understanding of a lot of different topics and things. So if you see me scroll and everything else,
battery level is 30%.
It's gonna be me, going off the fly, right? So now, it comes to my attention that there's a new guy in the space who's trying to push marriage and push all of responsibility on men. His name is Scott Galloway. Now, mind you, Scott Galloway has been a thing for almost 3 years, right? He is now the new Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, right away, as everybody knows, he was saying the same shit about 5 years ago until we found out that he was a pill addict. His family's kind of dysfunction, and no one took him seriously anymore, and he faded out in the manosphere. He faded out in the manosphere, MGTOW, and red pill space, but he never really went on MGTOW spaces platforms, right? But he was a spokesperson because he was acting like he cared about men's loneliness and the plight of men, right? People took his clips, and he was fighting against fighting against feminism and everything else, right? One thing I gotta tell you guys, that let's be real and let's be honest, there's not that many people that is on our side. Case in point, the black manosphere. Do you know how many people that we seen in this space who turned into utter fucking whack jobs? Just because a person's successful don't mean that they should be listened to. They can be listened to in their space. But when you see a successful person try to tell you what to do in your personal life, you should run, right? We all got a customized relationship. We all got a customizable life, right? That a life that is different from everybody else. Sometimes it's probably the same, sometimes it's not. But you shouldn't never let nobody tell you about who you should settle for, who you should be with, right? So I'm gonna give you clips and snippets of this Scott Galloway because he came to my attention because Oprah decided to pop her head out and put him on her platform to tell the world that the men crisis. Mind you, Oprah is pretty much part of the problem, the reason why it's a men crisis in general, right? The real truth of it is that it's not about getting men jobs. It's not about getting men in relationships. It's about the historic low of being a man. It's the historic low. Let me tell you this now. A woman will pick up dog shit in the middle of the street and they'll make an article about it. A woman will be on 5 dates, they'll make an article about it. Tell me in this society where a man does anything and an article is written about it. Everything is about a woman doing something. But if a man does the same shit, he gets no press. Case in point, there was a guy who went into a Waffle House, a white guy who went into a Waffle House. His name was Travis Jeffrey Rayner. And you know who saved everybody? You know who saved everybody? It was a black man. Why hasn't any videos? Why hasn't anybody in the manosphere? Why hasn't anybody ever acknowledged this guy for being a hero? It's funny that no one tries to use him as an example to be like of saving people. Mind you, these are the pro-blacks don't talk about him. The same, the guys, the Antonio talks, the guys that I took screenshots of. No one actually talks about a black male hero. We always telling everybody else about women and how great they are. Everybody forgot about the black guy who saved multiple people. We forgot the guy who saved multiple people. We forgot. We forgot about the guy, the black guy, who saved multiple people. Now, yeah, he was on TV, but there's no videos being talked about him. There's not a lot of people talking about him now. They missed the entire point that he's a good example to follow by. None of the people on the black manosphere side ever did an interview with him. And this is how I know that it was all full of shit, right? Oh no. This is how I know it's all full of shit, right? So, step up Scott Galloway, who says certain things about men dating and all this other stuff. No, I'm gonna give you clippings of what Scott Galloway, what he said over the past 3 years, and then I'm gonna come to the things he said on Oprah. Hopefully, I don't get copyright striked or anything else like that. So it started with this, which your boy Super Sly attacking the red pill again because he's a short, insignificant female, and he's Super Sly destroyed many platforms, right? He did it with Reg the Bad Guy. He can't do it on his because his platform is not as big as it was before. He takes down videos. He takes down evidence of the shit that he did to people, said to people. All of his alliances pretty much broke down. Nobody wants nothing pretty much to do with him like that. They will come by and pretend that they cool with him and stuff because they have a social obligation, but they really don't rock with him like that, right? He's a gossip channel. He's a failed version of DJ Academics. He don't make a lot of money online like that. He comes online to create chaos. I got many videos of the guy saying certain things, doing certain things, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, right? Anybody who's successful that comes and talk down to men, they only want to feel powerful about themselves. So, let's get it.
On Tinder, a man of average attractiveness has to swipe right 200 times to get one coffee, and then 4 of those 5 coffees will ghost him. You can't tell women to lower their expectations, but this is the reality. When you ask a man if you could have a woman who had 80% of everything you wanted, 75% say, yeah, I'm on board. Mm-hmm. When you say to a woman, a man has 80% of what you want, 75% say that's not enough. What does the media tell a woman to do? He didn't open your door? He's not nice to his parents? You don't need him. You're a strong, independent woman. Pull the ripcord, you're out. The basic kind of communication around this is you are a strong, independent, powerful woman. That is wonderful. You don't need the imperfect man. They're just not connecting. Now, what does that tell that guy? Women don't value me. And then they go online, they see these misogynists telling them it's not your fault. Mm-hmm. And these men become much more prone to misogynistic content. I worry that we are literally evolving a new species of asexual, asocial male.
Now, mind you, Jordan Peterson said the same shit. This is probably 10 years ago. Maybe 8 years ago. 10 years ago, maybe. 10, but maybe 12, maybe 14 years ago when Jordan Peterson was big, right? And now this guy he in the beginning, he told you what they're doing. So he's telling you to just pick up your bootstrap and continue to keep trying. This guy telling you that you have to be rejected 1,000,000 times, while the woman is telling you, the whole media is gassing her up. So wait, you're supposed to fight through media, not social media, but media telling women they can do and say whatever they want and they okay the way they are. Why you think there's so many women out here got septic rings now, or tattoos all over their face and bodies? Because no one told them that they shouldn't do that. Why do you think so many chicks having abortions or doing certain things, OnlyFans and all this other stuff? Is because no one tells them that it's wrong. So now you have this bald-headed piece of shit telling you that he's tough, which basically he's not tough. He wasn't born in like a real rough neighborhood, but he's coming online trying to be the thought leader of men, and most men are not buying it. They're laughing at this guy, at his attempt. Mind you, people fell for the Jordan Peterson. This is the replacement of Jordan Peterson. Scott Galloway is the replacement of Jordan Peterson. You see these conservatives and these right-leaning people trying to get you in marriage. Mind you, all of their marriages and all of these people failed in marriages. Mind you, was it Crowler? Allison Crowler or something, whatever his name is, Crowler. Remember his relationship broke down online. It broke down in real time. So let's see.
Breaking bacon. I think a lot of young people mistake hobbies for their passion. The sexier the industry, the lower your return on invested capital.
Pursue your dream.
Yeah.
Philosophy. You think that's bullshit?
100%. Here's what.
Now, mind you, there's streamers that make more money than this guy. That's their hobby. Just because a guy is successful don't mean he can give you advice on everything financial, because he has multiple books exposing himself. Just because you read a book don't make you successful. Just because you read 100 books don't make you a master of something. Just because you read 1,000 books don't make you more knowledgeable than other people. It's about what the knowledge can do for other people when you read it. And it also is about if this knowledge that this book is read, if it can mass produce multiple people to give them what they want. And I'm talking about by the millions. Everybody came to the conclusion when it came down to red pill, MGTOW, is that it's better for a man to stand on their own and do their own thing and either pay for a woman or have a woman in their life short term than to have them long term, because they watched other people crumble. There's a lot of people that was in this space that took their own lives, who was married, by the way. There was guys in this space who admitted that if they didn't have this space, they would have took their own lives.
It's passion.
All sorts of metrics, which you could argue make this the best time to ever be alive. And yet, lots of economic problems for young people. I get that, comparative to certainly when I was young. But also a lot of anxiety. And I don't know if you see Jonathan Haidt's book about this.
Of course.
A really interesting book. What is the problem? Why can't young people have a perspective about, and that's why I think when you come out with the war on young people, in a way I would argue that you're exacerbating that anxiety.
Sure.
You're making them feel like I am a victim after all.
Now, Scott Galloway is pretty much a grifter. He's making a book off of the plights of young people. Same thing with what Jordan Peterson did. To pretend that he has the answers, to get all the interviews, and then eventually when everybody finds out he's a hack, they move on to the next hack. Remember, there was a dating coach a couple years ago. Her name was what's her name, Khan, or whatever her name is. I can go down the list. There was Jordan Peterson. There was Cinder Khan. There was all these dating coaches, these female dating coaches. Mind you, half of the female dating coaches, they quit because they couldn't deal with the woman's higher expectations. Something that Scott Galloway would never tell you about, or your boy Super Sly. Half of these female dating coaches bounced out. They got tired of dealing with these high expectations. Even Kendra G, one of the worst of them all, don't want to deal with a lot of these women. You see these women in their high, they're all this bullshit expectations that they're putting on everybody, right?
Yeah. You know, the professor tells me I'm a victim.
Sure. Well, I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. and that is, if you just look at the data, for the first time in the history of America, a 30-year-old isn't doing as well as his or her parents. The price of a house.
But why should they?
Why should they? Because that's
now become, in my view, an epidemic and a scourge.
Now, mind you, Jordan Peterson did it for millennials, and he did it for people who were still in their 30s. This is the same shit. This is the same song, same dance, same rhetoric, just different person. Jordan Peterson did the same thing. He had the interviews, he had the book, he had all of this, and it didn't do a damn thing in the grand scheme of things. Now people are trying to push this Scott Galloway guy. I don't hear a lot of people talking about him. I'm only talking about him because I want to show you that this is who trying to make a new plan for you, to make sure that you're a social and a relationship slave, right? The difference between men and women is that women spend more money than men, and men save money. They spend it a lot smarter, right? This guy wants men to go back to the days where he can pump up all of the businesses that all closed down. Mind you, there's a lot of businesses that closed down in 2020 because there's no families. There's not a lot of families. That's the one. Why do you think there's a lot of reason why they kept flooding every city with they kept flooding every city with immigrants, right? Because they wanted immigrants to take what the locals and what the natural born people weren't doing. They wanted to flood it so they can keep these businesses open. They wanted to keep all of the useless businesses open. It's wedding planners, all this other stuff. This and that, and this and that. People going out all the time. Everything doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. And always being the consumers. Now people are smarter. And all these businesses are having to merge. They have to adapt. They have to keep themselves. This guy's a big investor in some of these companies that depend on men emptying out their wallet, and they're emptying out their wallet and emptying out their mental conditions in order for him to make himself rich, right?
Love slots? The DraftKings Casino app's got you covered. They got tons of slots to choose from. All these options, I feel like a slot machine.
Pierce, thanks for having me on, and thanks for also bringing light to this issue over the last couple of years.
Yeah, you know, it's such a big issue. And I think that I did a debate yesterday, actually, about toxic masculinity. And I argued that it's never existed, that actually masculinity has, been hijacked as a theme. And people have tried to brand everything toxic masculinity. But that at its heart,
online with an algorithm, and I worry that we end up with a generation that's obese, anxious, and not connecting to the key attribute of success for men.
Now, mind you, this guy doesn't have a six-pack abs. He's not no big, tall guy. When somebody says that everybody's fat, I asked this piece of shit, why now all the women are now fat? Mind you, the women are going outside more than the men, right? And they're more successful, while half of these women are fat and overweight. Why is it that? Well, why is that? They're the ones going out the most, right? So why are they all unattractive and fat women, right? You want to talk about men, but you're not talking about the women. See, this is how I know that a lot of these people are full of shit. Throw these women, all these single women who have money and success, put them overseas. Put them in a different dating market and see if they will succeed and if they will fail. I bet you half of them, I bet you about 96% of them, or at least 90 of them will fail. They will fail miserably overseas. They're doing it now. I might make a video about that, about passport sis. The hidden truth for the passport sis. You know, people are now hiding passport sis. A lot of these guys who used to make passport videos, passport bro videos, saying how passport bros are this, passport bros are that. But they're not making videos on passport sis. And a lot of these passport sisters that are failing, they're failing bad. Because they're bringing their mentality overseas and they're thinking that Thai men is going to just worship them. It don't work that way. They think that they can compete with the women in those countries. When men come to those countries to pay for those women, if a woman, if your group of women gets men to come over and spend money and build your economy, it means you have the best women. There's no rich, successful billionaires, trillionaires that are coming over here to build up American society because they want to date the women here.
Mammals, and that is to be in the presence of another mammal.
And we're also seeing, you know, in terms of corporate America, for example, actions like we saw from...
Now, mind you, when someone is promoting that you talk to people or do this, they never tell you the bad side of it. They never tell you the fake people, the drug addicts, the fake liars. If you have a conversation with somebody for 1,000 hours and they lying to you, how you know they're lying to you? In his fucking world, you're supposed to believe every word that a person is telling you because you're talking to them, and not even go comb through what these people are saying to you. I don't take anybody's word in real life at face value, because everybody changed. Everybody says something now, but says something different later on, or treat you good now, but treat you different later on. Most people are fake. Most people want something out of you, or they want something from you that you won't give to them. Most people don't want genuine connection. Case in point, in this Black Manosphere stuff, right? You've seen so many people that came into space because they wanted to be a leader in the space. There's guys in the space who's millionaires who are now foaming at the mouth because they're talking political talk. Your boy Uncut Underground took all his videos about SBE, making fun of SBE, and now he's a political channel. Remember a few years ago when they was trying to tell you to go to Atlanta, to go date? Now it's been exposed multiple years that Atlanta is filled with a bunch of trans, bisexual men that's having sex with normal women, spreading HIV. Remember when they was telling you to go to Houston, Texas for dating instead of going there for money? Remember that? Now it has the highest capital of HIV. Remember when there was a guy in this space, well, not in the space, against passport bros, and he was telling you that New York girls was the best? Now they telling you that New York girls are the worst. All these people, in the end, their rhetoric, their books, their movements all fell. While the red pill, MGTOW has held up, it's been a consistent thing for men to grab onto. And you see more and more people. They don't never tell you about the successful stories of men working and spending time and building themselves up and stuff like that and having money, because they don't want to push these guys out there. If they show more men being happy, it'd destroy their whole male loneliness shit. The male loneliness shit is now a whole bunch of grifters being able to grift off of men's pain, right? They create they create the environment, and guys like this feel like he's the thought leader. He likes to hear himself talk. That's what these interviews about. They're not going. A guy like him is not going to go on any red pill platform and then get tested. Same thing with Jordan Peterson. He didn't get tested. He just stayed in the lane of interviews. And then eventually everything came out about Jordan Peterson, and then basically he got destroyed and people don't pay attention to him no more.
Gillette. So at the kind of height of the Me Too campaign, which had many worthy aspects to it, as did the Time Up campaign. You know, I certainly saw a merit in exposing a lot of very bad men for doing very bad things. But with all these things, the pendulum swung wildly and hooked in a lot of people where I felt the punishment that they were receiving in terms of cancellation and so on way outdid what they were supposed to have done. But, you know, you look at it in totality, all that, and I just saw a kind of reaction from corporate America. Gillette was a prime example where they'd always done these kind of chest-beating alpha male style commercials that were a celebration of masculinity, a celebration of strong men often holding babies and so on, you know, being men, being masculine with all the traits that we would associate with being men, being hunters, providers, protectors, nurturers, you know, being stoic, being strong, being courageous.
Okay, man, it's kind of annoying, and I can't rewind it or fast forward it. So I'm gonna try to, like, you know, hopefully he can get to some point and see what this guy's point is. Right? This guy is not gonna point to the fact that a lot of women created this environment, calling guys creeps. They only want certain men to approach them. Now you're in the world where certain men does approach them. Nobody's gonna walk up to a woman when they're gonna lose. Right? You won't go outside if you know you're going to die. You only going outside if you know you're going to live that day. You're not going to go outside when 20% of the people walk out. I mean, if 90% of the people walks outside and they die, you're not going to want to go out and die with the 90% people. You're going to want to go somewhere where your chances of living is increasing, right? And I'm going to expose this shit where there is no Scott Galloway. There is none of this talk in other countries, because a lot of these guys will get mashed, or they will basically, people hunt them down and be like, you're lying to everybody, right?
Just being risk-taking, all those kind of things, which I think make men, you know, great things, actually, in the vast majority of cases. But Gillette spun that on its head. And I write about this in my book, Woke is Dead, where they turned it on its head and almost were saying all men are awful until they can prove otherwise. They ran a whole lot of footage of Harvey Weinstein and all this kind of thing. And the presumption was men are not the best that they can be. They have to prove they're not these awful Harvey Weinsteins. And it backfired horrendously for them. I think $8 billion later.
See, that's at least he brung up that point, right? They lost a lot of money. That's not the only thing that lost a lot of money. A lot of people lost money in Budweiser too, when they was pushing that. When you try to promote men as being bad and your brand was all men, most people are going to go to a secondary point and say, fuck you. And they're going to bounce and leave. They're going to take their money somewhere else.
The bottom line, Gillette did a screeching U-turn and went back to celebrating men. But it was the fact they'd taken that decision to kind of go that way in flipping things on its head and making men really hate themselves until they could prove otherwise. Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural.
Well, save it, Aldi, and save the holiday spirit.
In Brawl Stars, you can be a katana-wielding sushi chef. In the real...
Check out our awesome table games and face off against a real live dealer. New Bet365 players get a 100% deposit match bonus up to $1,000 plus spins.
Now, mind you, you see how stupid this dumb shit is? You have betting ads on a video about male crisis.
70% off.
Yeah, so I would argue that the masculinity in young men have sort of been under attack from both sides of the political spectrum, but for different reasons. The Gillette commercial you're referring to, where a man sees a woman he's attracted to and gets up to try and initiate contact, and then another man steps in between them and says, hey, that's not cool. Well, okay, are lawyers supposed to meet in the lobby of MSNBC and negotiate a coffee date? I mean, I can't tell you, this is anecdotal evidence. I don't have data here. But when I go out and I'm in social settings, I've had dozens, I'm not exaggerating, of women come up to me and say, I'm here, I'm single, I'm ready to mingle.
He's a lion. I'm here and I'm single and ready to mingle. And mind you, this guy did the same shit on Oprah. He said the same kind of quotes on Oprah. He said the same shit. I'm single, I'm ready to mingle. No, they say they're single, they're ready to mingle because they're lonely or they need somebody to dump their emotional bullshit on. Men are smarter than that now because they've been single. If you have more peace when you're single and you're less stressed when you're single, why would I get into a relationship and be stressed out and have to cater to one person's needs?
I look amazing, and not a single man has approached me in months. And so the majority of women still want men. One of the key attributes we have to teach our sons is how to express romantic interest while making the other person feel safe.
He said the same thing on Oprah. He said the same shit. So he's basically roboting it, feeling safe. But why wait, in a climate where men are being accused of being creeps and weirdos, why we still have to make women feel safe and not men feel safe? That we're not dealing with a person who's going to Me Too us or stalk us. Now, mind you, he's not going to talk about the women who stalk men or who expose men. You know how many women are now being arrested for, what you call it? It's the new law, right? Just this year, this fucking idiot is not going to talk about that. The DoorDash girl literally went into somebody's house, opened the door, and it's been proven that she did that, opened the door, and exposed this guy to the whole world and said she was sexually assaulted. She lied. Now she's in jail. Well, I think she's out of jail, but she's basically got 2 counts of illegal, basically, surveillance and everything else, and doxing and everything else. She's not going to do no jail time, but she's probably going to be on probation for a very long time. And that guy can pretty much come back and sue. But we have a lot of women who are opportunists that want to destroy men's life. So now you want men to make women feel safe when men are the ones who will lose it all. And they have to go to the police and even have footage. They have to have all this footage and recordings just to save their ass. Because if they don't have that, they won't be believed and the cops will take the woman's side.
And also, if you go up to a stranger and express some sort of interest and they are not interested, guess what? You're both going to be fine. Now, the far right, to their credit, recognize the problem with young men first. The unfortunate thing, though, is oftentimes their remedy is to take women and non-whites back to the 50s where they had less opportunity, and that they inversely correlate the ascent of women.
Actions via social media and so on. It's all been very unhealthy and makes them even more anxious about life. They're living up to aspirations they can never probably achieve.
Erectile dysfunction drugs triples. So distinct of the way the world should be, the reality is when men are not economically viable, they are not somewhat, in general, attractive to women, which creates a lack of household formation and a lack of propagation and population growth.
Oh, so why is it all the billionaires and multimillionaires are getting divorces then? Why is it that they getting divorces and they can't hold together marriages? So you're full of shit now. Because I don't know if he's married. So wait, you're single. But you're not trying to date one of these so-called good women that are ready to mingle.
Growth, which
That happened. Any society, but I could absolutely see that happening.
technology in some ways and income inequality is returning us to what is
Yeah, I completely agree. I grew up in a pub. I love pubs, but you're right. And pubs are closing all over the place in the UK. But pub life, is what I loved about it and still love about it. It's very egalitarian. I grew up in a little village in the south of England where the lord of the manor would be next to the local bricklayer and so on. And as long as you could stand your round, then you were, part of the group and you would debate stuff. And in many ways, I look at what's happened today with the kind of fragmentation of discourse about stuff, where people now seem incapable of having a kind of pub-style debate, where things would get animated, passionate, heated. Sometimes it might even end in fisticuffs, but nobody used to fall out over debates in a pub, really. They'd always be back the next day, having another pint, having a laugh about the argument they'd had and so on. We seem to have lost that ability, don't we, with that kind of pub culture mindset, where you can agree to disagree, even if it's fiery, even if the debate is passionate. We don't do that anymore. Now, I thought Jon Stewart made a good point last week when he said that the idea he would disown family members, right-wing uncles on Thanksgiving because they have a political view, say they support Trump or something, when he knows they have some tremendous other values about them that he loves. He just thought that was ridiculous. I completely agree with him.
Yeah, I think that I would argue the reality is we're actually not that divided, but the deepest pocketed companies in the world have attached profitability to trying to divide us. And I think one of the most tragic things about AI, Pierce, is that it's not crawling the real world. It's crawling the online world.
No, it's crawling the real world, dumb shit. Because there's people still going out to dumb movies. There's people still buying useless shit. There's people still walking in line. It's just women now. Automatically, this guy is really pissing me off because this guy is really trying to get men to come back out there and make mistakes while them losing millions of dollars. Mind you, people that listen to these guys, they're dead. They are spending probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands in lawyer fees. There's so many guys that watch other guys be destroyed in court or have to prove they're innocent in court, and they never see not 1 cent of it, right? All these settlements, just because a guy won a multi-million-dollar settlement don't mean he gonna get that money. It means he won that settlement. That means that he'll never get that money. That means that person is in debt to him. So if that person makes money, if it's a woman who owes him money, she's gonna have to give all that up. And they will find some way to pretend that they don't have money by mooching off of somebody and then acting like they don't have a job. And then the court system will not basically be like, okay, we got to put you in jail, and we have to reimburse this person all the money that we owe him. So we got to stop this because we're losing so much money from these false allegations.
I mean, you have a bigger footprint than me, but when I go out, I can't get over, no matter where I am, conservative, progressive, Europe, US, Muslim country, wherever I go, I can't get over how lovely people are.
Wow, how lovely people are with all the violence and killing. If you drop this bald-headed white dude in the middle of a bad neighborhood, he would die within a second and a minute and then get robbed, right? He looks like he never spent a moment in the wrong environments. Now, he's full of shit. He's in controlled environments because he has money, but he's not in regular environments.
They come up to me, maybe they disagree with some of my statements. I've been outspoken about Israel. They say, I disagree with you, but they want to have a civil conversation, and they appreciate I've served on 7 public company boards. The hardest thing a board member has to do is compensation. You want to keep
Notes on being a man. I was expecting opening this thing
any less masculine. So the whole point of prosperity, the whole shooting match, that's the means, but the ends is to immediately pivot to the second stool of masculinity, and that is to be a protector. If you think about the jobs that we associate with masculinity, military, fireman, cop, at the end of the day, they're protecting. And I think the most disappointing thing about some of the men we would naturally look to as role models for masculinity, whether it's the wealthiest man in the world or the president, they've skipped the whole protection part. Mm-hmm. I think that being sued concurrently by 2 women for sole custody of your child because you haven't seen that child, or cutting off aid to HIV positive mothers could not be any less masculine. So.
See, and this guy is a feminist in general. He grew up with a single mom. He hates his dad. I mean, he talks about his dad that left him because his mom decided to pick up an asshole. She decided to pick up a Chad and try to marry the
battery level is 20%.
And try to marry the guy who can get a lot of women. But it failed him. So now he's on a mission to try to create. Basically, Scott Galloway is trying to create men that his mom never had. Remember how that T-Page thing happened?
And then, sorry for the word salad. And then finally, and this is more controversial, procreation. I think we need to stop pathologizing young men's desire to have relationships and want sex. I think that sexual desire among young men is fire. It can be destructive. But I also think, for the most part, it's a wonderful thing that, if channeled correctly, makes you want to be a better man, make you want to dress well, make you want to be in bed.
So he's a fucking idiot, right? Because in this society, and I said this shit about Fresh and Fit too, you're not going to have 100 million men dressing the same way, smelling the same way. That means that every grooming company will make more money than they should have, right? But we don't hear about the women dressing nicely, looking better. They got a whole bunch of septic rings and tattoos all over their body and pubic hair everywhere and all this bad habits that they have. And there's nobody telling them to do anything. But for some reason, you got this fucking bald-headed guy who doesn't have really super knowledge on a whole bunch of shit coming out of nowhere. Now, mind you, he was trying to gain his shit 3 years ago. He didn't sound like this a couple years ago at all. And then I'm going to show you a feminist piece of shit female who calls him out, but she's a piece of shit too because she hates men. But she pretty much called him out because she identified that he's not on women's side and he's not trying to help quote unquote men either.
Better shape, make you want to have a kindness practice.
And this guy keep talking about kindness practice, right? The kindness guys. But there was a movement against men who say they're nice guys and say they're evil. And you can't trust them.
Make you want to demonstrate intellect, demonstrate humor. There's nothing wrong.
And remember how I said before? Everybody has different tastes in humor. So what? I'm supposed to tell the same jokes 20 times to 20 different women? Like they never heard the joke before? Like they never heard the joke coming out of another guy's mouth? The difference between humor is it depends on what you look like, depending on who laughs at it, right? An ugly guy tells a joke, nobody's going to laugh. An attractive guy tells a joke, everybody's going to laugh. And they're going to fuck him. There's no way in hell, multiple guys, unless they have money, but no ugly, unattractive, broke comedian, if he didn't look okay, but if he looked ugly and disfigured, he won't get no cheeks telling a woman a joke. Because if that was the case, then all of disfigured and super unattractive guys can get women all over the world. That's not even true.
These who aren't interacting with other folks, everything is online there. Is this what you're seeing? Is it part of the reason you wanted to write a book like this?
1 in 7 men are called NEETs. They're not in education, they're not employed, and they're not in education because they don't want to be told that they're evil every single day. Or they don't want to hear that women are better than them every single day and you need to take care of a woman. No, there's guys in college who left college, who dropped out because they kept hearing that you got to help women, you got to help women. But then they called the women strong, but then told the guys that they have to help women. in training. Effectively, you have. The bottom line is they are doing everything they can to sequester you from the most meaningful and important thing in your life.
When your kid's fever hits right after bedtime,
time is the greatest.
Walk down the halls of NYU. Go girl. Women in consulting. Black women in black women in investment banking, women's support groups. Find me a poster anywhere that's a support group for men. And yet they're the ones that are struggling hands down the most.
At the same time, you mention all the strides that women have made, Scott, but then you look at like some of the still pathetic numbers, like the number of female CEOs, for example, right? And the wealth gap between men and women that still exists. So it's sometimes it sounds like you're suggesting we've already reached parity and then some, but would you concede that there are many areas in American life where there is not gender equality and we still have miles to go before we sleep, so to speak?
So,
now mind you, I see the comment sections because I ain't watching under these videos because I just wanted to, collect all of them. Now, people expose them already about his addictions and shit like that. So I want to get to that point. All right. He's a feminist piece of shit. That's what he is. And people are pointing it out. I just like this. I'm just starting to just see all these people just fall and falter. Remember a few years ago, that was the Asian chick who was telling men they need to be more emotional. The Asian chick who was going against Passport Bros and then she dropped out. Remember Red the St. Blues, who said he was going to get 100,000 subs based off the manosphere, and then that shit didn't turn out. Remember Femme Sapien? Remember she gave up the manosphere based on. I have seen a river, a basically whole body of river of people who came into space says a lot of shit, and everything that these people said never held up. I watched all these people fall. I watched all these people grow and fall, and they become irrelevant, right? They've been trying to do that. The difference between men and women, men don't succumb easily. We don't succumb easily. If we find a thing, if we find something, we got onto it. There's a group on Reddit that said X Red Pill. That shit is dying down. It is less people posting it in now because they think the Red Pill is dead. No, they're running out of the same people to talk about. They keep talking about Fresh and Fit. They keep talking about the same dudes. And even somebody in one of those groups said there's more Red Pill men than Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate and all these other people. And they said, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. And they put the whole list out there and they're like, oh, these people don't got a whole bunch of subscribers. Nobody don't listen to them. And they like, no, people listen to them. A lot of people listen to them. They're just not super popular now because they talk the right thing. They say the right thing. They say logical things, but y'all not using them. And that person got kicked out.
I would argue empathy is not a zero-sum game. And that is, civil rights didn't hurt white people. Gay marriage does not hurt heteronormative marriage. And we can still acknowledge the huge obstacles that non-whites and women still face, but there's some nuance. So, for example, when women decide to leverage their ovaries and have kids, they go to 77 cents on the dollar. We still have not figured out a way for women to maintain the professional trajectory while having children. We're the only country in the G7 that doesn't have universal child care. Until 2 years ago, I think there were more CEOs named Bob than female CEOs in the Fortune 500. So, by the way, it's parents' fault for not naming their daughters Bob.
I don't know if it's Bob. I thought it was
Ron,
Jim
Bob,
or Bill
Jim,
or I can't remember.
something
but
like
yeah.
that. So, I don't think there's any acknowledging, I don't think there's any denying that women still have real issues. I talk a lot about big tech. Big tech preys on the insecurities of teenage girls, and you can directly correlate self-harm from when social went on mobile.
Right.
Now you see somebody in the comment section is pretty much admitting the fact is that they made a mistake with their own sons and the men in their family by pushing women up and then telling men that they need to do better. When you artificially make women better, you can never organically make men at the same level. That's kind of like giving women Superman powers or Flash powers and telling them that they need to be able to run as fast as a woman with super speed. That'll never happen because she just inherited super speed. That don't mean that that's not meaning that man can actually run the same speed if you tell him he can run the same speed. No matter what kind of training, he'll never be faster than a speedster. See these comments right here.
I mean, you look at Jonathan Haidt, and I know these statistics are terrible for boys and men, but if you look at, the anxious generation, you see girls, preteen girls, have their suicide rate has just
jumped.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, though, just as many women attempt suicide as men. It's just that men are, quote unquote, better at it because they're more comfortable with gunplay. Anyway, I don't think that, I want to acknowledge there's still huge issues facing the Hispanics and black families have average net worth of $20,000, white families 160,000. So I think it's pretty easy to acknowledge there's still an apartheid, an economic apartheid in the U.S. and stop people from calling me Andrew Tate with an MBA is mothers. And the email and the kind of narrative goes like this. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters, 1 son. 1 daughter at Penn, 1 daughter in PR in Chicago, and my son is in the basement vaping and playing video games. It's mothers that really see what's going on here. So I think that the greatest alliance in history is not NATO. It's not between moderate Republicans and moderate. The greatest alliance in history is between men and women. And I think there's 7.5 billion points of evidence that it's a great alliance. So what do we need? We need young men to celebrate the progress of their sisters and their mothers. But we also need women to realize the struggles facing young men are real.
Why is...
So, wait, you're telling men to celebrate the progress of women, but you see when he said that the women need to say that the crisis is men. So basically, the women are not celebrating the men, but the men celebrating the women. You see this piece of shit, dude?
Why is her son in the basement vaping and playing video games, and her other children are successful, going about their lives?
It's a confluence of a bunch of things. So first, let's just start with biology. A boy's prefrontal cortex is literally 18 months behind a girl.
And here we go with this bullshit about women. Women get more mature than men are, right? And pretty much you see it in all of there. Most of some of these people don't mature. You got a whole bunch of adult women, and you got adult women, but you got a women that are adults, then they have teenage minds. Most of the women don't progress beyond the fact after they got titties. After they got breasts, after they knew that they can fool men or take men for money, or the whole world was going to kiss their ass, that's when they stop aging. So some people are now still stuck at 15, 14, 13, 12, and they just got an adult body and they still act that way.
If you get strong, you get economically viable. You take care of your family. You take care of your community. But the ultimate expression of masculinity is to take an interest in the life of the child that isn't yours.
Wow. So basically, this fucking idiot is wanting you to go take care of other men's kids. So basically, women can go out here and have sex with anybody they want, and it's up to you to go take care of their kids. So basically, we're not going to stop what's going on. We're just going to make sure that but we heard this shit before. Oh, go mentor, go do this. It's a whole bunch of mentor guys out here, and this shit didn't stop anything from happening.
And there's no education.
What you have done here will never be forgotten.
Policies that would reduce the cost of education, massively decrease the cost of housing. We've entered into this rejectionist luxury positioning. There's no reason. Dartmouth has an $8 billion endowment. They let in.
Now let's be real. All of the countries who got free education, you know what they do? They come here to make money. They use their degree that they have in all these other countries to make money. They don't stay in the free education country because their taxes are high. You have to pay more money for goods, and pretty much you don't make a lot of good wages. You don't. The wages that you make compared to what you have to spend is astronomical. That's why a lot of the UK people, Canada, why do you think that these Canadians, Australians, and these Britain people always come to America to spend money? They come over here to take advantage of our capitalist system. When you have 400 doctors who don't make a lot of money, they make minimum wage, what you gonna do? What are you gonna do if you have a million doctors and lawyers? They're not gonna make a lot of money. They're gonna make minimum wage. Your economy is gonna basically, it's not gonna do anything. Your specialty will become oversaturated. It means that you won't become special no more. Nobody's going to pay you any type of specialty. Being a doctor and a lawyer and some of these degrees is a specialty because you went to school for it, right? But if everybody can go to school for being a doctor and a lawyer, your specialty goes down because you're not going to pay a lawyer $50 an hour when there's another person who can do the same job, and there's another person who can do the same job, there's another person who can do the same job, and there's 5 or 10 people that you can find who do the same job. You're going to be paid minimum wage. It's going to be like you flipping a burger. Let's be real. Because these people who want free education and cheaper education, are they willing to take a pay cut in a prestigious career? And people like this idiot, your degrees won't mean shit because everybody will have them. So then you gonna want things to go back to the old way. And people like him, when we come back, will come back a couple years later and say how much big a mistake they made.
1,100 don't have the money to audit anybody. When I was a younger man, and speed up and cut them off to restore balance to the universe.
I sometimes do that.
Well, that's anti-masculine behavior, Katie.
I'm sorry.
Or these are all my own failings, and I know these well. I met the Delta 1K customer, and I've got more out of alcohol than it's gotten out of me. I'm good at it. I'm a better version of me, a little bit fucked up.
See, and he admitted now that he's an alcoholic. So, come on, be real.
Word on the street side, make it look easy. Flattering, cool, way too easy.
Now, mind you, this comment section, this is the Oprah video. Mind you, this video don't have any, they don't have any, right? What is it? You can't comment on it. There's no, the comment section is pretty much locked. Funny that you're not allowed to talk on men's are not allowed to talk on a men's issue on the Oprah channel.
Word on the street is I make it look easy. I'm actually smooth, it's far too easy. Word on the street is I make it look easy.
Just to be raw about this, and feel safe. Yeah.
Now, he said this in another interview, that men supposed to make women feel safe. No, we're in a society that women are supposed to make men feel safe. So they don't get Me Too'd, or being called the creep ball, or being called a weirdo, or being called the cops on them, or have another man beat them up for no reason. So, let me block this out. And I'm gonna come back